LSU spring football winding down this week. They were obviously off for spring break last week. They'll go through one more week of practices, and they'll wrap things up on Saturday with their open practice that'll involve an autograph session as well. So one more week of spring football before LSU breaks for summer workouts, and it will be till August when we can get back out there and give you some practice reports. But I wanted to spend some time on linebacker today because I think LSU's got a chance to be really good at linebacker. Obviously, Greg Penn was an emotional leader on that team. We talked to Greg most midweeks in player interviews. He's a great representative of the program, guy that absolutely loves LSU and played incredibly hard. I don't know that he's going to be a first-round draft pick coming up, but that's a guy that was obviously a big leader on the team and earned the number 18. Do I think that LSU can raise its level of talent this year at wide receiver from what they put out there last year, especially after Perkins went down? I do. You consider a linebacking core that's got Whit Weeks, that's got Devon Keys in his second year, and we saw some flashes from him late in the season last year, playing a little bit at the star, playing a little bit inside. And then you've got Harold Perkins kind of moving to the star in a linebacker-type role. That is, I believe, a really, really strong core to work with. You've got Whit Weeks, who's a veteran player that you bring into the fold as well. They're really high on a couple of their young linebackers in this class. But I think to talk about the foundation in the top three is the most important thing. And Whit Weeks emerged as a star last year. You're talking about a guy that finished second in the Southeastern Conference in tackles. I think there are some things to clean up. I lean a little bit more on Pro Football Focus to talk about that than me. You saw a very obvious misplay that he made in the South Carolina game that allowed Rocket Sanders to spring for a huge touchdown. It's just some of those gap assignments that you're looking for. But in terms of effort, intensity, and then production, Whit Weeks is going to be a preseason first-team All-SEC linebacker. I think Devon Keys is a talent upgrade for LSU in his second year. I think that's a guy who is primed to make a lot of plays from his inside linebacker spot. And then I think Harold Perkins being around the line of scrimmage but not being boxed into the middle, I think that allows him to use his greatest strength, which is his athleticism, quickness, and most importantly, I think, his instincts. I think at times in the middle of the field, Perkins got a little bit caught in the wash, and that showed up on tape, but really in production. You just didn't see him getting north and south and making plays behind the line of scrimmage. He needs to be making plays behind the line of scrimmage. He can really move laterally, sideline to sideline, no question. His most impactful plays are going to be moving north and south, moving vertically. And you allow him, I think, to do that when you put him in a little more space. He's going to do some covering. He's going to play some in the nickel in the slot. He'll have some assignments against some slot receivers. Not all the time, but some. But for the purposes of this discussion with the linebackers, you imagine he's going to be a really, really productive and guy that wrecks a lot of plays if used properly. So there are question marks at a lot of places on the field for LSU. Both lines of scrimmage, I have some question marks. Safety, I have some question marks. Corner, I have some question marks. I look at linebacker, and when I consider Whit Weeks, the fourth linebacker, I don't really have any questions. I think you're going to have Whit Weeks, who I can right now go ahead and pencil in for 112 tackles. Absolutely. I've got Harold Perkins, who I think is going to make 8 to 10 tackles for loss, have 6-7 sacks. And then I think Devon Keys, given the reign of 12 games to play, is going to be an 85 tackle guy in this defense. And I think is going to be a little bit more dynamic than what you saw last year. Now, one of the things that has to happen for the linebackers to have the kind of year that I'm forecasting is you've got to be good at the point of attack. And I don't have any doubt about Jack Pyburn, about Jamari Butler, about Patrick Payton, about Gabe Relaford. On the edge, you're going to be strong. And I feel pretty good about Jacoby and Guillory at least being strong at the point of attack. I don't know how statistically productive Guillory is going to be, but for the point of this conversation, I'm talking about the linebackers. And he's going to be a big-time piece to holding the point of attack between the center and the guards. And then we'll see what Ahmad Rowe and Don McKinley and some of those guys are this year. If they all hold up their end of the bargain and allow those linebackers to run, I think LSU is going to be better against the run, more dynamic in making plays in the backfield, and I think going to cause some havoc. Blake Baker's defenses, generally speaking, cause a lot of havoc. And one of the things we know that Kyle Williams has done very early in his time at LSU, and it's very early in his time at LSU, he doesn't like the notion that defensive linemen's job is to kind of hold their ground and let everybody else make plays. He wants those guys to make plays. But I think the guys behind them are going to make more. And so I'm very, very much bullish on this group's ability to come into its own, to be a veteran, productive, and then maybe more so than last year, dynamic group. Making plays behind the line of scrimmage, blowing up plays in the backfield, ending drives because you're creating negative plays and getting teams behind the sticks. I'm really confident that LSU has got this thing figured out from a linebacker perspective. And I think when you go back like 2 years ago and at some points last year, just not good enough at the linebacker spot in terms of filling gaps and stopping the run and making plays. I think they're going to be every bit of that this year on the linebacking core. So I'm very bullish on that group. I don't know if you're going to see much of anything on Saturday. Harold Perkins is not going through fall spring workouts. Whit Weeks is not going through spring workouts. Like, those guys are coming back from injury. I have every reason to believe that they'll do so very, very healthily. You got Whit just had a broken bone, which is no fun, but it does just heal. Perkins, of course, had to have the ACL reconstructed, but that's a surgery that you feel pretty good about, and you hope that he's able to go out there and play at full speed very, very quickly. And Brian Kelly said back in the middle of spring football a couple weeks ago, both of those guys should be ready to go on July 1st, which gives them 4 weeks to get up to speed to be ready to go full speed, full contact at camp. So that's a very, very positive thing for LSU, and I think the linebackers are going to be a huge positive for the Tigers moving into this offseason and into the season in 2025. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.